Hi guys, welcome. Today we are going to look into the second video of the video or the screencast that I have been preparing on AngularJS. So this is the second day, and we have been looking into last day the introduction of the AngularJS and what are the exact pattern that we'll be following in case of writing AngularJS codes. And today we'll be most only we are looking into the most important part of the AngularJS, uh, that is the controller. And with you, I'm Shubhaman. I'm a senior software developer. Okay, so let's discuss what are the agenda or the topics that we will be covering in our next 20-25 minutes. The first one is the what is a controller in Angular, the directive and the scope, those stuffs. Then what is the HTTP service? That is the how we can actually consume REST-based web services using Angular. And then there is module. A module is ideally how you write your codes in Angular, and this is simply something kind of a coding or the moduling pattern, you can say. And then we will just jump into the conclusion, or where next we could move from here. Okay, so let's jump into our first working slide, that is what is a controller in Angular. So controller in Angular is pretty much same as the directive ng app. Okay, so in case of mentioning a controller, you just write something like ng controller uh, including ng app. So let's see how we do that. Okay, let's go into our Plunker, and I have just signed in using my GitHub account to this Plunker. So let's add our AngularJS library to get started. Okay, so when we talk about AngularJS, you could see a lot of libraries are available over there, but the one that I'll be like to I'll be like to adding is 1.2.26, because this is the one in which I have worked so far. So I'll be adding this one. And another point why I'm adding this one is there are some breaking changes that has been introduced. So the example that we are showing now, uh, here we will be using mostly global handler, which doesn't really work with 1.3. That is a totally breaking changes. I don't know why Angular has included that, but this changes has been there. So I'm using 1.2.26. Okay, and the way we have learned in our last module, we are going to add ng app over there, and we are pretty much good to go. Okay, so let's write a div here, and close it here. Okay, and after this another div, and inside the div I'll be writing my controller. So I'm just writing it a main controller. Well, now if I'm going to run it, I will definitely get an error, because it will complain that nowhere it could find something called main controller. So I'm just putting something like message, and my live preview is actually it is off the auto refresh. So okay, it is on now. Okay, so you could see here it is, the message is appearing. Okay, so let's see how we are going to write our code in script.js. Okay, so I'll be declaring something called var main controller, and the spelling has to be totally same with this, so not taking any risk. I'm very bad with this typos. Yeah, here I'll be declaring a function, and most importantly in this function I'll be passing a scope parameter. So now let's talk for a couple of minutes what is a scope parameter. Now scope parameter is something we could call as a data model for Angular Angular controller. Okay, so using this scope, we pass the value to the main controller, and how we are going to do that we will just see in a moment. You remember we have written something like message over here, so I will just pass this scope hello from Angular controller. Okay, so I've written something like hello from Angular, and this message is there, and it should be very well get executed over there. So if I refresh my page, I will see this hello from Angular controller. Okay, so now let's have a look what exactly happened over there. uh, we created this ng app directive. It means that our application is capable of using Angular, and then we have proceeded and using this ng controller. And so the moment HTML parsing comes into this, this Angular JS, what it will do is it will try to find main controller in his scripts. Okay, so then it goes back to the script.js or whatever the script file that we have included in our file, and it will find this main controller and find inside that main controller what we have written in the scope. Okay, so we could find the scope.message is this, and this is hello from Angular. Now one thing to ponder, that Angular is very bad in the auto suggestion and this kind of stuff. So when you do a mistake like this, suppose you write this, Angular doesn't really give you any kind of a predefined error, or it doesn't throw anything. Look, it simply not showing that. Okay, so it is like you have to be very careful while writing this code so that it doesn't really break anywhere. Like every place you have to go and keep on debugging by yourself. Okay, so this is one of the thing you have to keep on doing with Angular. Let's get back to our slides. So you could see over here that the first point we covered, that is what is a ng controller directive, and we also have done one demo on that, and then we will do this one. Sorry, the we will first talk about what is the difference between the Angular and the jQuery. So the people who have worked in jQuery, they might have seen that you do something like document.get element by id, or like using the normal $sign to just to use the jQuery selectors, and after using that jQuery selector you keep on manipulating the DOM. So what effectively happening is you directly work over the HTML through your jQuery, but direct manipulation through jQuery, you directly manipulate the DOM, but in Angular controller the model for the view is being created. Okay, so you remember the message part we created, that is the model. Okay, in case of $scope, we have passed the model one model property, that is the message, and that message has been displayed over there. So we get a nice separation of concern of the controller focuses on the scope and or the model, where whereas our view, that is the HTML, is totally being dealt on separately, and other than the Angular tags. Of course, those Angular tags are the kind of a glue which keeps that your script files and your HTML together. And now let's get into another little bit more like a little bit more real life example. Okay, okay, so let's go ahead. What ideally we will be doing is we will be creating a person, and that person first name will be displayed here, this last name will be displayed here, and also the picture of the person we will get from a like an online URL. Okay, so to do that, what we will like in an object oriented concept, you can think of like this: we will create a person object, and the first name of the first name property or the last name property and the image of that person, those things we will be populating in our web page. You can simply think of something like that. Okay, so let's start. Let's create something like var person equal to uh, so let me declare something like first name. Let me give my name. It is again, let me add my name, and then I will do something like an image source. Okay, and like I have a avatar in my blog, so I have the URL for the same, so I'll be just pasting the URL over there. Okay, so I'm pretty much good to go with my person. Like I have created in the main controller my person object. Now what we need to do is we need to bind it to our scope first, and then in turn bind that scope to our HTML. So let's see how we can do that. So we are doing it something like this: scope dot person equal to person. Yeah, like I'm not just complicating it, I'm just giving it a this person name only. Okay, now to deal with this, I'll be let's create one div here. Okay, let me do something at first. Create, yeah. So the reason I am doing this, look, this div and this div, it will be now globally accessible. Okay, so now here when I say globally, it means among all the DOM elements that are inside this div. Okay, so let's do something like this: first name person dot first name div last name will be something like this: person dot last name, and then let's check the image. In img I'll be just giving one src equal to something like this. Look, now here one of the point we will really be amazed how powerful uh, Angular is. So just let me copy it from here, image source. It is as simple as that. We just write it in this way, and we can give a title something like I want to see my own name, okay, in the title. So let me do something like this: person dot first name. Yeah, person dot first name. That will be pretty yeah, and we are good to go. Yeah, let me check once again. Okay, so just let me try it whether the magic happens or not. Yeah, it is loading. So my first name is appearing from the backend, and my last name is appearing over here, and you could also see my image over there. So now let's just to be double sure that this image is actually coming from our online HTTP services, not really any local resources. So if you want, you can just go ahead and like play along with any of your online that avatar you get over your GitHub or your WordPress account or anything like this one. I got on my WordPress. Okay, I set on my WordPress. And I also think that it also got set up in the my GitHub account as well. So this is pretty much it. This is how we bind data. And so let's get back into our actual stuff. Now after binding data, we will now see how we can consume HTTP services, that is the REST based services, in our application. Okay, so let's get back into our presentation, and we could see here this HTTP service. That is how we could do an HTTP communication using our uh, AngularJS application that is going to be this subject for us. So let's look into this. What is happening is like we will be encapsulating uh, HTTP communication, and those who have a little bit experience with the REST services, or those who have studied a little bit with that, they know there is a it is a resource based HTTP protocol. So like you can get post or put or delete a resource. Okay, so definitely get means like retrieving all the data, post means posting it back to the server, deleting is it means that deleting it from the deleting by using the database. So these are the inherent nature, and we are not going to go any detail to that. And so how we actually can consume a service. We can consume a service using one HTTP, one dollar HTTP ask. Okay, they call it ask because using that you can get or post. So what effectively happens is you just add another parameter, that is a dollar HTTP, and then you do a dollar HTTP get, and that dollar HTTP get returns a value to you. Okay, that value is being called a promise. Okay, the promise, you can take the word literally. The promise, it means either like you keep your promise or you don't. It means that the service has returned some value, or there was some error in the service was not available, or maybe you are not calling it right. Whatever the reason is, it fails. Okay, so based on that value, we are going to populate our data model, and then we can go ahead and like you use that data model in our HTML. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. And just to give what web services we will be using, we'll be using the GitHub web services. Okay, there is a open GitHub API which doesn't really require any kind of message header or anything. It gives all kind of user information. So it is just to as the aim for our course is just to look into some kind of demo how we can consume service. So we are not going into the detailing of how we can populate the message header and stuffs. We will just try to keep it short and simple. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, so what URL we are going to use? We are going to use this api.github.user. So you could see I have passed my username of GitHub. That is why it is being shown this kind of stuff. So yeah, it says that not found because I have to supply a parameter over there. So let's yeah, pass my name, and you could see it displays all my information. Okay, like I can see my followers, I can see my following URLs, and anything, what are the repos, and it gives me a lot of stuffs. Okay, even gives me one image. Okay, so what we will try to do is we will take this REST service, and we will populate in our model, and that model we will be populating then in our HTML. Okay, so let's go ahead how we can do that. If you remember it earlier, like yeah, we no longer need this thing, this person thing, so delete this. Yeah, so if you remember, like we have been talking that we'll be adding one HTTP ask. Okay, and this HTTP ask will be calling one get, and it will be calling get to this particular URL. Okay, so now what? Now it is not something that you simply do var user equal to this. So you need to take advantage of the promise that comes along with the Angular. So let's see how we can do that. To use promise, I'll be doing something like this then, and let me just create a new, let me just call a new function over there on user completed. And what I'll be doing is I'll be creating another function, and which in turn will populate the scope data. Okay, so let's see how I am going to do that. Sorry, var on user completed, I will just copy paste this name. this will be a function, and how the function will be, we'll be just writing it in a moment. And yes, in function we'll be sending the response along with the function. Okay, and it will be something like this: dollar scope dot whichever the model you want to populate equal to response dot data. Okay, so this will do what it will do is effectively it will populate the user data from the response it gets. Okay, so this is pretty much it. This is doing all the data population for us. And yes, this won't be something like this now. This will be name, and the name parameter will be user.name. Last name we don't need, and we'll be having a picture. It will be something called user dot, what was it, yeah, avatar URL. And it will be something like user.name. Sorry, it will be user.name too. So here we are having, so let's see whether this works or not. Okay, yeah, it is loading. Yeah, so for some reason it is not coming there. Okay, it was loading, that is why it was taking time. I think this name parameter I have passed, which I have passed, is wrong. So let me just check back from the API and pass the proper property so that we could get the data. Yeah, I think there is something called login. Okay, so it will just output my login name. So let's see whether this works or not. Now it returns my username and my image as well. So you could see like how easy it is to get all the data from a service, from any of the service. Okay, and now let's see what else we can do with this service. Like we will just explore a little bit what a promise is. Okay, so let's let's use the promise at our fullest. So what we can do in case of promises, first one is that like on user completed. So then another method that will get called, it is the on error, and it will be pretty much as same as our previous function only, that is the var on error. Sorry, we need to define the function first. So on error function, and what we pass is a reason, and then we will do something like this: scope dot error equal to reason. Well, instead of reason, I think it will be better to just give a comprehensive message over there. Service did not return required data. Okay, and to populate it, like just after this message, create another div which will just give us error. Okay, so now there shouldn't be any problem. So now if I suppose I do something like this ap, so definitely it's an error. So let's see what is happening. It is loading, and this we could yeah, it is trying to get the data from the service, and then you could see it is returning the service didn't return the required data. Okay, so this is pretty much it with how we what we could do with the promise, that there are two states. One is the success and another one is the failure. So in case of failure, we can display whatever the data we want. Okay. Okay, so let's get back to our topics. So the last topic is the modules. So what happens in case of modules is the controllers, they are usually leaving the modules. So if we are going to the way we are writing code now, if we keep on writing this, it will be a maintenance nightmare in case of a production application, because like one controller will be cluttering with another controller. So what happens is there is a revealing module pattern that uh, uh, we have discussed earlier. So we will be seeing that like by avoiding global namespace, we will be doing some kind of that only, but not exactly a revealing module pattern of JavaScript. So we will use some kind of instant initialization concepts. Okay, so we will create a module and we will just tell the controller that let's point to that module. It is something what we will be doing if we look from a very high level, that is maybe from a 1,000 feet above, that is what is happening. So let's jump into the example. I think that will be much more clearer. So so far we have this one. Okay, so now if we want to initiate this one, okay, initiate our service. Okay, first let me, yeah. So if we want to initiate our service from the moment the page is getting loaded, then we can do some instant initialization. Okay, now how we can do instant initialization? Let's uh, this is an old trick that we all know. Just I'm just revisiting it. We'll be creating one function, and what this function is effectively do is like this will self invoke itself. That is like if I do something like this, yeah, we are pretty much done. So it should be it should invoke it itself. Okay, because we are declaring it function, and here by this sign we are saying that you invoke itself the moment you come to this script.js page. So just to explore what will happen now, I'm just taking up my console. Okay, I'm clearing my console and refreshing my page, so that refreshing my preview, so that we could see what is exactly happening. It gets an error and it is saying that main controller is not a function and got undefined. It simply means that it is it couldn't find that main controller from the HTML page. That is why it is saying that the main controller is not a function, but it is indeed a function. This stuff is not working. That is why. So what we can do alternatively, let's. Okay, so let's start with this. We will just go back with our index, and we'll be writing something like this. Like what we will be doing is we'll be hooking our controller to our model, and it will like as I said, it is some kind of a glue. Okay, and suppose we name it as GitHub viewer. Okay, and let's go back to our script. Yeah, and let's initiate it. Okay, so let's see how we are going to do it. We are in the script.js page. We'll be declaring a variable called app, and this app will do some kind of a register the syntax is something like this: Angular dot module GitHub view GitHub viewer. I guess I don't like to check chances with that. Yeah, and we'll pass it as an array. Okay, so let's beautify our code a bit. Yeah, it's good now. And then what we will do is we will just say that with our app, yeah, it is as simple as that, app.controller, and we just have to register the name main.controller, and in every places we have named it same, so there is no problem. So this is effectively this name, and this is the name that we are referring from our HTML. Okay, so this is pretty much it, and let's see whether this is working or not. Loading, and I think, yeah, this time it is working. Okay, and you could see there is like that error is no longer getting fired. Okay, so effectively what we are doing is in this index.html we are taking we are creating a ng app directive, and inside that directive we are making one controller, and that controller we are uh, firing from a module. Okay, so this is pretty much it. This is the module pattern, and let's get back to our PPT. So where to go from here, that we will now go into directives in detail. Now suppose example how we could do, we can build an interactive web page. For example, what will happen in case of a button click, or like the the real life web page building experience, how we could build interactive, that we will look into. And other than that, let's see what we have learned over here, that how we can bind a model, and how we can call a service, and how to write the module based patterns. Okay, just to avoid global namespace, and always remember to follow the practice of third one, that is avoiding global namespace and write a module. Thank you very much for listening to this screencast. We will get back to you soon. Thanks a lot.